Welcome to the Thoroughly Wrong Project with Lalo and Bob. We appreciate you spending some time with us today. Let's jump right into that weekly dose of things you can disagree with. Take it away, guys.
All right. Good morning and welcome to the Thoroughly Wrong Project. I'm Bob and this is Lalo. We missed last week because Bernie Sanders was on television. I had to see it, and we almost missed this week because I woke up a little hungover again, and I think I've decided I don't know how much longer I'm going to drink, Lalo.
It was that bad?
Yeah, it's not. I'm not drinking that much. Just catch a little buzz, and then I just wake up and just fuck, man. My dad said it best. He's like, getting old is not for pussies, and I used to laugh. I used to like, ha ha ha, that sounds funny. Well, guess what? It's not fucking funny. It's true. It's true. Getting old is not for the weak, man. I'm sore. I exercise. I eat right. I try to take care of myself. And by the end of the week, I feel like I'm torn to pieces. Not like, I don't know. Getting old sucks, man. Laugh along there, young man.
No, but I mean, I feel like it could be worse.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
So,
I see some people my age, they don't look
like,
good at all.
barely walking out there.
Yeah. Well, I'm barely walking from like 15 minutes, the first 15 minutes of the day. I'm up, my back is tweaked, my elbows tweaked. I'm trying to stand up, I got to sit down and put my socks on, that kind of shit.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like that, but that's just because I'm a lot less unhealthy than you.
Well, take that unhealthiness and add about 30 fucking years on top of it, and you're not going to want to do this, man. Seriously. Seriously. Sucks. How was your week, bro?
It's pretty good. Sundays, I mean, today I just watch football pretty much all day. And then on Saturdays, I'm in like some recreational like soccer league with some of my friends and stuff. So we play on Saturdays. So that's what we did yesterday.
That's cool. That's up
Yeah,
and
pretty
moving.
fun. Yeah, that's my exercise for the week.
Exercise for the week. Come on, man.
Hey, it takes its toll on you. Freaking playing soccer for like a whole hour, like nonstop.
I
You get
know. Yeah, I get it, but it's
Soccer
like
is very physically demanding.
it's up and down. You're running up and down, right? I get it, but are you running the whole time?
Um, Not the whole time, but I mean, you're like moving the whole time. You're at least like jogging the whole time.
Uh, Closest thing I ever did to that was basketball. So I never played soccer. I
It
played
reminds me of
football.
like the hit workouts, because you'll be like relaxed for a little bit, and then it's like a few seconds of like, like 100%, like all out, like sprinting to the ball, and
Yeah,
so your
that's
heart rate's like going up and down all game.
yeah, that's I do that. I do a hit workout every morning, and I used to do Tabata, which is like 20 seconds of just all out, and then 20 seconds of rest, and then 20 seconds of all out, and you do that for 5 minutes. It's surprisingly tough. I
Yeah.
mean, so I don't know. I feel like I'm struggling against, futility here, trying to stay in shape at my age. It just fucking blows ass, man. Seriously.
What kind do you do? Mostly like I don't know, like strength workouts?
I do cardio and strength. I do like a hit workout when I wake up, and then I do strength challenges. I do 5 of those, and then I do P90X on top of that, which is kind of like, I guess that's strength training and cardio built in together. I try to keep the whole thing because I know if you get strong and you don't have any stamina, you can't have sex. And then yeah, And if you have a lot of stamina as an old guy and you don't have any musculature about you, you look like a fucking toothpick. So it's this weird approaching 60 fitness level that
Have you ever done like the I don't even know what like the category of workouts it would be, but like things to just uh like yoga or like plyo workouts.
oh yeah, yeah, that's the first P90X, and then right now I'm doing P90X too. So they're all different. I know staying flexible and staying strong and maintaining your balance is the three things that I'm worried about, because it's just the older you get, the fucking weirder this gets, Lalo. I'm not kidding. I was talking to somebody the other day at work, and she's my age, and she said I keep thinking it in the year 2000 I was going to be 35, and how old that sounded. And
Look at me now.
yeah, no, it's like I'm going to be I'm going to be 57, I guess. What is this? Yeah, I'm going to be 57 next year. Yeah, I know. Damn, right? That sounds fucking insane. Like, I don't feel 57. I don't know what 57 is supposed to feel like, but at the same time, I got all these areas that I'm slowing down in, and it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Is there a pill for that? But
Well, I think
I also,
the main like the best part is like you don't feel 57. So I think that's the goal right there.
that's the goal, I guess. I've been down to Muscle Beach in Venice and seen 80-year-old men doing pull-ups. So that's my goal. I mean, to stay healthy and to stay strong for as long as I can, because fuck, this life is so fast. It's like uh, talking to my wife the other day. I said, all my life, all I've ever heard is that fucking clock ticking in the background. Like, I don't understand why people are so lethargic about their own life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't get it. It's like there's so much to learn, there's so much to do, there's so many places to go. There's playing soccer on the weekends, lifting weights, having a fucking podcast, going back to school. There's all these things that we can do, and it seems like yeah, man, I rewatched Game of Thrones. It's like who gives a fuck, you know?
I guess to each their own. Game of
Ow.
Thrones is a good show though, so I'll give them that
I'm
one.
Yeah, every time I mention Game of Thrones, somebody's like, "Yeah, that was a good show, though, man." I I look at it this way. I I live in this era. Game of Thrones came from this era. So when I am 90 years old, crippled up and in a fucking wheelchair, I'll sit down and watch Game of Thrones then. It'll still be relevant to me, right?
Yeah.
There you go. And it'll still be around if fucking capitalism doesn't fall apart here in the next few weeks.
That's a big if.
Yeah, it is. Did you know there's another shooting in St. Paul, Minnesota?
No, I didn't hear about that one. At least not
Yeah,
yet.
I was like, the news came out like, I don't know, 50 minutes ago. So I think a dozen people got shot. One person's dead. This is a shooting in Texas. It's like we're not shocked anymore, at all,
Mhm.
especially Texas. That one was almost irony when they do away with all the gun laws, and then there's a shooting. You're like, well, yeah, you know.
Uh, we're very desensitized. We're
I think
desensitized to a lot of fucked up shit. Like if you think about it.
I know, I know. Everything nothing shocks us, and thank God we have Game of Thrones, right? Is that right? Is that how that works?
Yeah, because I
Yeah,
mean, it's just like I think most like you'll see like something bad like in the news happen, and you're like, oh dang, that sucks, and then you just forget about it like 2 minutes later. Because I mean, for the most part, doesn't like affect you like personally, no. Like even here locally in town, like we're like what this is like a record year for like homicides,
hmm
and it's like you see like a post and you're like, damn, that's crazy. Oh well, like what am I doing tonight, you know?
Yeah.
So
What
it's
is it something that we feel like we can't do anything about it, or we've seen it too
no,
much?
I think it's yeah, I think it's that like it's just like it's almost like daily, like a daily routine type of thing, you know? Like and it's just I mean, obviously for like the family and like the people that know, you know, that individual, it matters and it affects them. But I mean, when you have like so many people, the vast majority is going to be unaffected. So, you know, the worst or like the most they do is like comment on like the Facebook post, like, oh, you know, that's terrible. Like condolences to the family.
Or they like the post?
Yeah. So it's like, I mean, but I mean, at the same time, like what, it's kind of hard to say, like, well, what are we supposed to do? You know, like, how are
Uh,
we supposed to respond to that? And I mean, that's a good question, I guess. There's no
yeah.
like real like number one answer for that either. So
Well, it is hard to respond to someone else's devastation. It really is. And even, dude, even having gone through it, when I hear like somebody else, I- I still don't know what to say to that person. You know, because even though I was in this horrible fucking car accident, and one of those ones where you're like, wow, how the fuck did you live through that? And your kid gets killed and your life gets fucked up. You hear it happen to someone else and you just like, I don't know how they're responding to their own emotions. And everybody's different and everybody handles it differently. Like some people go to religion and some people commit suicide. Well, some people choose to die by suicide. And there's no way to respond. And there's books out there about how to respond to other people's tragedy.
yeah,
So
and it's I mean, and even that like you said, everybody's different, so everybody's gonna react like differently. Like you could talk to one person about like, oh, you know, like you know, something similar happened to me and you know, this is how I dealt with it. And they
mhm.
could be like, you know, super grateful and like, you know, like, oh, thank you, like I'm not alone type of thing, you know?
Yeah,
Or you could say the exact same thing to somebody else and they could just like block you out and be like, you know, this isn't about you. Like, what are you trying to do here? You know?
exactly. Exactly.
So
I've been in both situations where I've said I've been in a similar situation, and the person will look at you and go, well, thank you. And it is the truth where you're like, I don't feel alone right now, because you do. When you're laying in the hospital and you're fucked up, you're broken, you're shot, you're whatever, and your family's dead, and you need that sense of um,
support.
support. Is a good, yeah. And like you said, other people are like, this is not about you. Well, you know, la di da. Thank you for telling me that, but I'm not you. So,
Yeah.
but I think that the person has a right to say whatever they want to say in that moment. So they can reject you, and you can't take it personally.
Yeah. And I mean, like, you know, like they say people cope in different ways. So I never like um fault people, I guess, for like doing what they do, especially, you know, after they go some like through something through like that.
Yeah.
Like I've seen people like they're like, you know, a family member passes away and like they don't go to the funeral, you know, and then everybody
Right.
at the funeral is like, "Oh my god, I can't believe they didn't come," you know.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, what the fuck? Like, I'll never like see that and then be like, "Oh, what a jerk," you know.
Right.
It's just
When my grandfather passed away, my daughter, my oldest daughter, my oldest son, and I had lived with him for a year while he degenerated down that black hole of, dementia. And there was a lot of pressure on us in that time period, because the family was supporting us financially, but they wouldn't come down to the house because it was just a fucking circus at the house. So my grandfather finally died, and my my daughter and my son and I got the giggles at that fucking funeral, just out of, just out of like relief and sadness, and it just all culminated in that fucking moment when we got the giggles, and everybody in the family was so pissed off at us. And I tried to explain. I was like, it's just reactions to supreme stress. I mean, like massive stress on a person, anxiety. You can get giggles, you can cry, you can do what you said. You could just avoid the funeral, and everybody's going to judge those ways that you do it, because we have in this culture, in this society, that's like, this is the way we do a funeral. Everybody's fucking somber.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not always like that. So
No.
to each their own, like I always say.
Yeah, to each their own. So shouldn't we be like, should we give Trump a pass? I got you.
That's on what?
On everything. He's just Trump.
Well, I mean, someone not going to like their grandpa's funeral is not gonna kill like 500,000 people. So I mean, I think there's some subtle differences there.
Do you think they're subtle, or come on, they're kind of overt? It was just, I know, man. I know. I think the tide's turning against him anyway. So it looks like it. It looks like it's turning against him politically, but as far as his supporters, no, they're still there. They're still there.
They're always going to be there. It's always at this point. He's like, it's one of those things that like it's going to be like long lasting from now on, even like long after him, and not even just like him personally, but like that like mindset, that like, oh, America first, like no matter what, like fuck yeah, like fuck everybody else.
Do you really think that that's an America first attitude, or is that more of a me first attitude? Because those people, they're very, I don't know. It seems like they hide behind that.
Well, Trump's very like me first, like 100%, like that's him.
Right.
But I think he kind of was able to disguise that as America first. Yeah. And then use it like to its advantage. Because I mean, like, let me think. Like for example, with his like tax returns, like if it was like a Democrat like trying to like not release them or like whatever, all the stuff he was doing, people would be like, what the fuck, like, oh, he's hiding something, why would you not show him if you're not hiding something? But then when Trump does it, it's like, oh, it's his personal information, like why does it even matter? Like, who cares? It's like, look, he paid 0 in taxes. Oh, because he's a very smart man that knows the system. We're like, what the hell?
He's a criminal.
And then, so it's like these people are like, working the system, and like all the poor ass like Republicans are like, oh man, what a genius, what a smart man. And it's like, that it's like that's hurting you. Him and like everybody else is doing that is hurting you. So, but like that, like it like doesn't click for them, So,
well, the coolest thing happened yesterday. I was talking to my uncle, and he was one of those completely over to the right, Trump waving the flag and, all the shit that went on during that time period. And then I think he's in his 80s now, late 70s, 80s. But I got a text from him yesterday, and he's like, got my 3rd shot today for this shit that's supposedly going on. So, he's like, he just came back just a little bit like, but instead of engaging him on that level, what I did was, I called him up and I said, hey man, thank you, because you and my other uncle, you're the only 2 family members I have left. And thank you for taking care of yourself. And I appreciate that. And he didn't know what to say, because he wants to justify that he's getting the shot just because for some weird reason he wants to say it's not real, but just in case.
Yeah. I mean, and To be honest, if like that's their mindset, that's perfectly fine with me. Like that's good enough for me. Like, oh, I don't think I'm gonna fucking die, but I mean, just in case, I'll just get it. You know?
Yeah, I don't want to admit that I'm getting it because I trust the government. I'm getting it to protect myself, and that's wonderful. But the thing was, I combated his ignorance with kindness, and I was like, "That's a good job, man. That's the way to do that." So hopefully, we could get more people like my uncle to admit, okay, what if you're wrong? You know, take your fucking Christianity. Some people are Christians just in case, you know.
Yeah.
So just in case this is real, go ahead and get the shot. And like you said, that's good enough, right there.
Yeah. So I mean, that's if like more people had that mindset, I think we'd be in a lot better shape. And I always hear people talking because I mean, all these like conspiracy theories about uh, oh, this isn't about like public health; it's about like control. They want to control us, and
Right.
it's like no, like they're like, oh, first it was mask, then it was vaccine mandates. Like, what's next? And it's like, what's next? The pandemic fucking ends, and we go back to normal. That's what's next. That's what follows that. But we're
Now,
stuck in this like in between stage of like not enough people are getting it to the point where our hospitals aren't packed jam packed all over the country.
they still are, aren't they?
Yeah, like even here, did you see that like joint statement like a few weeks ago
Uh-uh.
the hospitals put out? It was like all the hospitals in Kern County like put out a joint statement saying like please don't come unless you're like dying pretty much. Like if
Wow.
it's not an emergency, uh like a life or death emergency, like don't come to the hospital.
How's the urgent cares looking? Are they still full?
I mean probably because I mean that's the alternatives to like trying to show up at the ER. So, and I mean, I've been to the ER in the past few weeks for like work stuff.
Yeah.
It's like you get in there and it's a madhouse. But I always figured that's what an ER is like, anyways. But it's like full. Like we got there and they're like, "Oh, you guys are gonna have to wait a bit because we don't have any beds right now."
Wow.
They're like rolling out fucking like lobby chairs, and there's like patients sitting in lobby chairs with the fucking IV stuck to them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not. They're not fucking kidding around when they're saying like they're fucking packed.
That's got to be like some sort of surreal movie to be. I haven't been in a hospital in a long time. So I took my daughter to urgent care to get her tested uh, probably 4 or 5 weeks ago, but it wasn't full at all. So
Yeah, and I mean, it probably depends. There's like so many urgent cares now, which I think is,
yeah,
a good thing at least. Um,
thank you capitalism.
no, but when it comes to like physical, like the actual hospitals, I know those are pretty bad.
I wouldn't. I don't think I would go back. I don't think I would go to emergency room. Now, I mean, medicine's changed. When I was a kid, you got fucked up, you went to the emergency room. That was all there was.
Yeah,
And now there's, they can sew you up into urgent care and they can do all the things that usually happened to me when I was a kid, skateboarding and all the stupid shit that I did. But I haven't been to I haven't been in the hospital. I had some serious fucking surgery and I couldn't believe that they cracked my neck open, broke my neck, put put a bunch of pins and screws and shit in me and sent me home. And I was like, what the fuck? Really? I thought, but I guess medicine's changing from even 10 years ago. I got some pins put in my foot and they kept me for 2 days.
yeah,
So everything's changing. I think it's because there's so many people, or are they streamlining medicine? It's just, I don't know, dude. From what I was a child to now, and I'm not trying to sound like some, "Ah, when I was a young boy," I'm not doing that shit. I'm just saying things are so fucking different that it's really hard. It's really hard to keep up with what's happening. And that's not, is that true for you too at your age?
Well, when it comes to like what, just like everything.
Yeah, just culture is just like pedal to the metal right now, and the news cycles and the way things are changing and the way capitalism is done. And it's just fucking weird the amount
Yeah,
of
I'm
information
like
that's available.
I'm like in this constant. I have like this constant emotion of like, fuck, I'm forgetting something. Like, because I always feel like, oh shit, I'm forgetting to do something, or like there's something I have to do. Like when I'm like sitting down and like relaxing for a bit, I was like, there's no way. Like there's some shit I'm forgetting to do.
Wow.
So it's like, yeah, it's very overwhelming being like an adult. Like, I mean, I would say like average adult, I guess,
Yeah.
in this day and age. Because I know some people have like their fucking like butlers and shit and housemaids, and then there's some people that are even worse. They have like they're single parent with like fucking 4 kids, and
Oh yeah.
so there's
Yeah.
like
I
extremes on
was a
both.
single parent with 4 kids once, and I can't imagine doing it in this culture. I can't imagine. My single with 4 kids and was in a real slow place. And I had them out here, but they were, when we moved from West Virginia to here, I had them here, but some of them were teenagers and some of them were, preteens. So, but I see the woman, has got like 4 kids under the age of 6. No fucking way, dude. I don't know how. Power too. She must be like a fucking superhero is the way I'm looking at it.
Because I mean, I feel overwhelmed. I only have like fucking 2 cats.
That's interesting that you would, dude, that's really interesting that you would say that you always feel like there's something you're forgetting. That's not, that can't be good for your mental health. And I'm not saying
I
you're,
mean, yeah. I mean, I don't feel like, uh, I don't know. Like, I get overwhelmed sometimes, like especially like thinking like, oh, I have to do all this shit by like this timeline and all this stuff.
yeah.
Like there's work, school, like your personal life. But I don't. I mean, at least not yet, and hopefully not at all. But I'm not at that point where I'm like fucking like super stressing, or like I'm fairly good at like managing like my stress
Yeah.
and like just like not getting like super overwhelmed.
Yeah. Oh, so you stay aware of it then.
Yeah. I'm just like, am I
Okay.
forgetting something, like that type of thing? And I try to think
Yeah.
like what's coming up, like what I have to do, like what time of the month is it? Maybe I have like some shit due
Yeah.
or like a bill that's due. But it's not like, oh shit, like what the fuck? Like I'm like rustling through things, like trying to figure out what I'm forgetting now. It's not that bad.
Well,
But like you said, I'm like aware of it. Like, oh, like is there something I need to do? Like that's what I ask myself a lot. Like, oh, is there something I need to do right now?
okay. I I have tons of lists, to-do lists. I have a to-do list for work. I have a to-do list for my house. I have one. Now I'm going to start one for school because I'm starting my master's degree, my master's program next Monday.
Oh
So I
damn.
know, yeah, oh damn, I know. And you think it's just, so I'm glad I don't have things. I'm thankful that I don't have a house, so I don't have a yard, you know,
Yeah.
because I can't imagine, like, I got to go home and mow the grass because from the time I get up in the morning, really till the time I lay down at night, I have scheduled in 2 periods during the day called free time, dude. That's how fucked up my life is right now. Where I have to sit down. I'm like, I don't care what I have to do. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to watch. I try to watch the news from 6:30 till 7 because that's the national news.
Yeah.
So I do that while I'm eating. And and I try to schedule 20 minutes before I go to bed so I can read or do something or just fucking lay there and look at the ceiling. And of course I have, yeah, and I have meditation that I do 20 minutes a day. So I have these time periods built into my day because that's what sent me to Mary Kay Shell, is what you're talking about. Except I let it get to me.
Yeah.
I was like, I have to do this and this, and I have the family and the wife needs and the daughter needs, and I got to go to work, and I got to get up in the morning, and I got to exercise, but I want to read this book. And it gets to the point where the thoughts begin to get on top of each other. And then you get that jumbled feeling of like, fuck, man, can I cut things out? And if I cut things out, am I cutting it out of my personal life, or am I cutting it out of my work life, or am I cutting it out of my family? So you get caught in this guilt cycle of I need to do for everybody. And that's what sent me to the hospital. That's what sent me to mental health care.
It's like a big juggling act, except everybody doesn't know how to juggle.
Yeah,
Put it on the plane.
exactly. Not a lot of people are good at it. That's true. But I went to therapy, and then that's when I learned that everything has value. And I hate to put it into capitalistic terms, but yeah, everything in your life has value of how you value things. And you need to value yourself a little more than what the normal average person does. They throw themselves under the bus all the time. Well, I was going to go to the gym, but my wife needs. And I was going to take a time to go to see a movie and to relax, but my work needs. And even I reached the point where Lalo, I reached the fucking point where I would go to a movie and not pay attention to it. I would just sit and worry about what I needed to get done.
And I
So
mean that's one of the when you're talking about value, it's I think for like the human psyche, I guess, like having like value, like for your own personal self, is very like important for people, you know.
yeah,
Um, So like even when it comes to like your job, you know, like I want to feel like I'm worth like something, you know. And that's one of the I think that's an issue we're gonna face like as a society pretty soon here, especially when it comes to like automation. Um, like when this like automation like fucking wave starts rolling, people are gonna lose their jobs, and at that point they're like, well, what the fuck am I supposed to do now, you know?
right.
And that could really like fuck people up like mentally, to the point where they're like, well, I'm fucking useless now. Like, you know,
Yeah.
I've been a truck driver like for 30 years, and all of a sudden like that's the only thing I know how to do. You know, I'm 55 years old, truck driver,
Mhm.
and you're out of a job, and all of a sudden you're like, well, I'm fucking worthless now. And it really takes a toll on people. Um, and I think that's something we're gonna have to address, hopefully before we start seeing like major like like effects, you know, the effects
Yeah.
of automation. I think people don't really like we don't really think of that. We just think of like the actual automation itself. Because I mean, you know, I get it. I'm not I'm not some like utopian like fucking, oh, if like no one worked, like that would just be great. We could all just do whatever we want type of thing. Like I know we still have to like, you know, produce our goods and services like ourselves, and you know, I know we still have to work, you know, in general.
Right.
Um, so I think we gotta, and again, like I always tell people, like literally most problems you could think of, it all comes back to capitalism. Um,
Yeah. It's true. It's
and like
very
I think
true.
I've mentioned it before, we have to make that shift from like doing all the shit that we're doing now for money to doing it for us, like you know, for ourselves.
Yeah. And that big wave right now. I try to read a book a week, and there's a huge influx of books right now on self-care, trying to teach people what self-care really actually is. It's not, it's not going out and getting drunk. It's not that. It's self-care is a holistic approach to your life about taking care of everything from your skin to your emotions, you know?
Yeah.
So, and I think what happened was, uh, what happened in the last 50 years is that technology took off, and people were like, instead of should we, they think, can we? And then there's this huge fallout afterwards. Like, hey man, do you think we could develop a cell phone? And yeah, we can. Well, now people are addicted to cell phones and we're like, oh fuck, we didn't mean for that to happen. And we're going to automate everything. Oh wow, check it out. Self-driving trucks. Well, what about the truck driver? Oh fuck, we didn't think about that. So it's like you said, we're going to have a wave of people that are going to lose their jobs, and the people who aren't losing their jobs and who are developing this technology are going to have to deal with the people that you're pushing out. You're marginalizing them, and you're not necessarily doing it on purpose, but it's exactly what happens. You push them out there, and then you say, well, get another job, we'll do another training. And like, to tell my dad, if this had happened, earlier, and push my dad out, I know that motherfucker drove a truck for 55 years. He didn't know anything else. He didn't want to do anything else. He didn't want to become a fucking dental assistant. He doesn't want to go to San Joaquin Community College and learn how to do, typing or any of that shit. So he is dealing with, even aging out of it is difficult for him. So imagine being viable, still healthy and viable and able to do the job, and all of a sudden you're not needed. That's going to be a huge issue in our culture.
Yeah, and I mean, personally, I don't think that should. I'm trying to find a way to say it. Like you said, there's like unintended like consequences when it comes
Right.
to like all the shit we've done.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think those consequences, even if we're able to like kind of predict them, I don't think they should like stop us from doing the thing, Like I think, because I mean, as society, we have to like advance and like innovate, and I'll always like advocate for that, But
I agree.
we have to like learn to, like you said, like pick the other people up, or like the people that are going to be negatively affected by it, like help them out, almost like preemptively,
Yeah. Well, those people
because
should also be adaptive enough. Like, when the horse and buggy got done away with, we didn't need cart rights anymore. We didn't need wheelwrights anymore. And whatever they did, they did. But people have to adapt. And if you can't adapt, that sends you what I did. You become overwhelmed by life and you end up in fucking mental health services. And like I said, I don't think technology should be stifled in any way where it's ethical, if or moral, but still we have to deal with the real consequences of AI and the real consequences of self-driving cars. And there's all these things, but at the same time, Lalo, how can we guess what the fuck is going to happen? No one could have guessed what would happen to Facebook. No one sat around 20 years ago and was like, well, if we connect everyone, it just grew into this beast that we can't control now.
yeah, but I mean, it's too late to go back now.
Too late. Yeah, that Mark, Mark Zuckerberg is a fucking weasel. I just want to get that out in the open.
I think he's just like a fucking weirdo. He's like, have you ever seen The Social Network,
Yeah,
the movie?
yeah.
I feel like that's 100% like how he is. Like he's
Awkward
just the
and
fucking, like, yeah, he's like a weird, creepy dude that was very probably like I guess like lonely during, like high school, college type of things.
yeah, yeah.
Because I mean, Facebook, like the way it originated, like its origin story, like it's kind of, it was very like creepy
Yeah,
of
it
how
is.
like he was like trying to rate all the girls in like his like dorm and like college and all that stuff. And that's pretty much the birth of Facebook right there. Some fucking creep.
I what you just said reminded me of that old website, Guess Her Muff. Yeah, so the internet is fucking creepy, and especially social media. isn't it just odd that we are like, here's a picture of my cheeseburger and here's a picture of my kids, and you can watch people's kids grow up online, and then there's other people out there like Zuckerberg who are just, they're fascinated with that information that you're giving and they're taking it from you. And I think that somebody like Mark Zuckerberg has way too much power when he has access to the information that we give him. That's, it's too it's too powerful. And I know it's not personal. He doesn't personally know me, but his software knows my algorithms and knows what I like to, where I like to eat and how I like to shop and credit card companies and all this fucking information. If they put it all together, they manipulate us
But I
constantly.
mean, like that's not like like what they do with that information is they sell it. They make money.
Yeah.
And then these like outside companies are the ones that show us like the ad that of that thing that you were just talking about the other day, and you're like, oh shit. And then people make that joke like, oh, is my phone listening in on me? Like, yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is. I, I did it last night as a joke when my wife and I were sitting at dinner. I just leaned down to my phone and I started talking about Shiba Inu and Bitcoin and all. And I got up this morning and there it was. I mean, Facebook, it was all over it. So they know what we're doing, and it just seems weird. But isn't that dangerous when it gets into the wrong hands? Let's not talk about Colgate. I don't give a fuck about Bitcoin. Yeah, they're trying to sell me something. They're trying to get me to do something. But what about when that information reaches, the dark web and it gets sold into there, and I don't want to fucking put my fucking tin hat on or anything, but you know as well as I do, when the CIA and the FBI and the NSA and they get this fucking information about large groups of people, they're able to manipulate us through the media, through the news, through a lot of things, dude. They drive us like sheep.
Yeah. And I mean, I try to be like that one person that's like, oh yeah, like that doesn't affect me. And I think for the
Yeah.
most part it doesn't, but I know that's not like the norm.
Yeah.
Most people see something like on like as an ad on Facebook that appeals to them and they'll be like, oh, that's cool. Like, oh, let me try it out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know what to like I agree with you uh like these large corporations are able to take that information and then kind of use it to benefit them. Um, but I don't know to what extent, as you were saying, like when it comes to like manipulation
Hmm.
and like media manipulation and all that stuff, like to what extent is that possible? Because I mean, most of the um, like information is just like preferences. Like oh, like I like this type of music, or I like seeing this type of movie, or this type of food.
Right.
So
But
like, I mean, I wonder like what, because I mean, to be honest, I honestly just think it's all about like just selling you shit and then making money. Like, um, it's hard for me to see it like deeper than that, to the point where it's like, okay, well, what like malicious thing can they do with that information? What can they do that's gonna hurt me with them knowing that I fucking like going to, Panera?
I I'll go with you there, but what about our ideologies and the things that we're putting on our political affiliations? What about that? And why is why is the South different from the North? And when I go down south, I hear different kinds of news on the local area. And it, isn't it? Don't you find it's like we're five different countries here? There's the North, the Northeast, and the
West
South, and the
Coast.
South is different from fucking Chicago, and Chicago has different problems than. So this information that they have, doesn't it keep us separated? Listen, I'm not, like I said, I don't have enough tinfoil on my desk here to build my hat, But I don't think it's more than just about the body lotion we want or the book we want to read, or it has to do with the news that we're ingesting and the billboards that we see. And don't you think that everything is somehow manipulated to some extent?
I mean, when it comes to like what you were just saying right now, yeah, because I mean, these companies pour like millions, if not billions, overall of dollars when it comes to like market research.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
like where should we place this billboard? Like let's place a fucking health insurance billboard right next to the hospital. Stuff like that. Um, so I mean, yeah, like there's a game to this, and they're like fucking trying to figure it out to maximize their profits. But I don't know. It's just I guess
isn't
it's
it?
just hard for me to like believe some of these um like doom scenario type of like Skynet type of shit. Um, but
Yeah,
I
I
think
get
that's just
you.
like my mentality personally of me thinking that like humans aren't that like at least humans like in a society aren't so like I don't know if gullible is the right word or like controllable. Because I mean, don't get me wrong, like anybody can be manipulated. Um, but I don't see it like getting to the point where we're all like fucking in some like dystopian like we're all sheep and we're all workers just fucking not like just working for the company or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, like Russia in the 80s. But I don't know if that was real because I wasn't in Russia. I only saw what the media was showing me.
And
So
I
I was
mean, I
being
think,
manipulated to think about the dystopian society in Russia.
I mean, the United States is very unique and it's um like it's a very young country, compared to
Yeah.
most other countries. And I think like that whole like idea of, we were founded on like, the Revolutionary War and like, freedom from the tyrannical. I think that's one way that mindset like benefits us.
Yeah.
That we're always gonna be like America's always gonna be like fucking freedom, hell yeah.
Yeah, with the
So I,
flags flying off the back of pickup trucks.
yeah, so I mean, I think that's one pro of like I guess having that America first mentality that I think it's gonna be very hard to manipulate us in like a severe enough scenario to where we're just like fucking like brain dead like zombies. Because even like you said, there's like so many like there's so many types of people like all around the country because like you said it is like 5 countries
Uh-huh.
in one. I mean the United States, it's so big, like you're naturally gonna get that in such a large like landmass with like different regions and like geographical like settings.
Yeah.
It's natural for you to have like fucking hillbillies and fucking on the West Coast everybody's like fancy and shit. um so I think that really is to our benefit. Everybody's like it's different. It's not like we live in a giant country full of like cornfields where if the fucking one corn company takes over, like we're fucked.
Yeah.
We're like it's a very diverse landmass and very diverse country. um so I
Well, you
think
said
that's
we're a young country. Like France looks at us and goes, "What? You only had one revolution?
yeah.
Shut up, kid."
I always think about like other like I guess like regimes, like the Roman Empire or like, stuff like that, and how they lasted like hundreds of years. And I guarantee you, during like their prime or whatever, they were like, "Oh, we're gonna keep this shit going forever." Like, we figured it out, like how to
Yeah.
be a society, and then they just fucking crumble.
Yeah.
And it makes me think like, is that ever gonna happen here to us too? But I don't know. I think we're at a point where um like the world is like done being founded, you know? Like we're like we know everywhere around the world. Like it's not like people are discovering new countries out of nowhere.
Right. Right.
And I think we've become so globalized that I mean, like, and I think I mentioned the last time. There's no need for like invasions anymore, really. When it comes to like countries taking over other countries, they'd rather just trade with them. Because I mean, that was the main reason for like invasion was like use their like obtain their resources and like
Yeah, we want what you have.
right. So it's like we could just trade with you now. So maybe the way the world is set right now, it might stay like that for a long time. There might be like changes here and there. Like, we had the whole like Ukraine, Russia shit, where like they split up into like a few little countries there, or like
Yeah, well, now we
Israel.
got China and Taiwan are still at it though.
Right. So, but like I think like big change, like you're not gonna see the United States like fucking invade Canada.
Yeah, but that would be so easy. they're so they're so polite, but the thing they don't have. Well, they have the trees. They have all those trees. We could fucking take all that. Hmm. I'm advocating for invading Canada. Let's do it, man.
I was reading that like a vast majority of Canada's people live in like two cities.
Yeah.
I was like,
One.
damn, that's fucking crazy.
Well, if you look at like the Northwest Territory, there's just fucking nothing there. It's
Yeah,
just like
it's just like
it's like a
mountains.
huge Montana. I mean, oh man, I tried yesterday. I I really tried yesterday to be kind to people and not say things like invade Canada, but uh, piggybacking on what you said, we're this one world culture now, and I know people are fucking terrified of that new world order, and there's all kinds of conspiracy theories about what would happen if we all got together as a planet. And if we were just kind to each other, Lalo, that's I'm not saying we have to agree. I don't want to worship your God, and I don't care if you like my politics or anything, but if we were just kinder to each other and said, this is the way we believe, and this is what we're going to do here, and you go ahead and do that over there, and that's fine. And what if we just accepted what was going on? And I know that's some fucking pipe dream utopian thought because it's never happened. It's not going to happen. But I still like to consider philosophically, what if we did that? You know, what it, at the lowest fucking level, if we did it to our neighbor, but we can't even do
Yeah.
that. I had a neighbor out last night playing some loud music for about 5 minutes, and it took about 3 minutes for the Karen who lives next to me to be out and screaming at him in the parking lot. It's like we're quick to anger, we're quick to denounce people, we're unaccepting of everything that comes to us, and that goes from my neighborhood to my apartment complex, to my neighborhood, to my section of the city, to my county, to my state. It just keeps growing exponentially to where no one wants to accept what anyone else is doing and say, that's okay for you to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all have our like idea of what like life should be like or how things should be run, and we're
Right.
very like stubborn and like like firm on those ideals. So it's kind of hard for us to like accept other people's lifestyles because it kind of gives us like the sense of like, oh, maybe I'm wrong.
Right.
And people don't like being wrong. Um, but I mean, like you said, it's probably never going to happen, like that utopian dream of let's just all get along, you guys.
Right. I don't
Because
see it happening.
for a lot of people, like just getting along means, oh, I have to be nice to this fucking like, oh, I have to be nice to like a gay person, like my gay neighbor, even though I'm like go to church like 3 times a week, and fucking my Bible says to hate gay people. but you want me to be nice to them? Who do you think they're gonna prioritize? Their neighbor or their fucking Bible?
Yeah, their feelings. Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
So it's like some of these things like you can't um I don't know, when it comes to like equality and like freedom, um and if any like ideology that you have that like prohibits that, like I'm not gonna like, okay, well, I'll just accept you for that. Like no, because then that's how you just like you normalize that, and you tell them like, oh well, it's okay to think that way,
Yeah.
when it's not uh like if you want to be religious, that's fine, but if your religion involves like discriminate against other people for no fucking reason, then like no, it's not fine. you know you want to, if you want to practice that like in your own home, that's great, do it. You could be fucking homophobic and transphobic all you want in your house.
Yeah.
If you go out and you fucking run for office and you fucking try to make policy and all this shit that actually like impacts other people for literally no reason, just because you don't like the way they live, and the way they live doesn't affect you at all, like 0%.
Oh yeah, like that
You want-
governor or lieutenant governor. I can't remember the North Carolina guy. Did you hear about that? It was
Uh,
the lieutenant governor. He said he got overheard in some remarks. He was like, homosexuality and transgender people are filth. So there's somebody that's in fucking charge of an entire state that doesn't need to be in charge.
right. So I mean, like that, like you could think that, like, that's okay, I guess. That's allowed. But once you like take that thought and turn it into like actions that negatively impact, people, that's when it's like not okay. And that's what I have a problem with.
So do you think it's okay for people with those mindsets to be in politics? Because how can
No,
you
because
have that mindset and not let it affect you?
right. That's why I don't think that's okay, because they can say like, oh well, I'll keep like my beliefs to myself, but no one ever does that. Like that's not
No.
a we're capable of doing.
People
Um,
run for office to get abortion, criminalized.
right.
They
So
run on those platforms.
exactly. So it's not. I mean, is it possible? Sure, like to keep it out of it, but for the most part, it's not. It's not a thing that actually happens, especially like in the South. Like they're all about like conservative, like traditional values.
Exactly. I
Like,
hates the homos, but I tell you what, I'm gonna be nice to you.
and have you ever noticed
Vote
that
for me. What?
those states are like, because they have like there's like porn websites that can tell you like, oh, this is what's looked up the most in California.
Yeah.
And in like very like conservative areas, it's very like it'll be like gay porn or like like trans porn.
Right.
It's very like I'm ironic, because I mean, there's like tons of uh like just closeted like gay people in the South that are just they can't come out or else they're fucking dead.
Exactly.
Like they have to like keep up this like persona. And I mean it's sad, because I mean at the end of the day they're not being who they are, and it's mostly out of fear, and a lot of it's also like self-hatred.
Yeah, self-loathing.
It's like
That's true. But
like be
my
like there's
friend,
no way.
I have a friend who is gay in the South, and it's fucking hilarious to me because he said most of the men when he was younger and in his the party phase, he said most of the men that came to him were straight, Christian, and very closeted, and they all wanted sex with him, but they were terrified that they were going to be found out. And he said you would be surprised at the amount of people that approached me and the stations in politics that they were in, law enforcement, lawyers, doctors, So the South is full of closeted homosexuals. It is, and I have absolute proof that it is through my friend, and it's not a joke, and it's not really hidden, but it's just something you just don't talk about.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't think there's like an abnormally large like gay or something population like in the South. It's probably like around the same as anywhere else. It's just their inability to like
Yeah.
be accepted where they're at that it makes it seem like, like, oh, there's a lot of like people in hiding.
Yeah, we
Not
didn't have a
compared-
gay bar in my town, but we did have a park where
I mean, you
where
even see,
everybody knew.
yeah, I've seen like documentaries where they'll interview like women that used to be like prostitutes or something, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, I get all sorts of clients, like lawyers and
Hmm.
politicians and cops and all this stuff, you know." And it's like, how can we see that? And I mean, that's probably like true everywhere, you know, like everywhere there's prostitution, which is pretty much everywhere. There's people that fight against it, but still do it, you know,
Right.
and that happens everywhere. And it's really like a simple fix. Like you just uh, like I mean, for the like a specific example of like prostitution, uh, you can like legalize it and uh, like supervise it and protect these women
Yeah.
so they're not just in constant fear all the time. And if you want to take advantage of that service, then go ahead. It's legal, and you can tax it and you can regulate it. And it's like it's really that simple. But people like don't want to do that because it's like, I don't know, taboo, or it just sounds wrong to them. But I mean, it's like that running joke of, like prostitution's the world's oldest or the world's first occupation.
Right.
So, and it's very similar with like weed, like legalizing weed. Like, oh shit, it's weed. People think they've grown up like, since the 80s thinking, oh, it's a gateway drug and it's a drug and, you'll fuck up your life. Thanks, Ronald Reagan, by the way. And it's just one of
Man.
those things where like if you just regulate it, you could tax it, like it doesn't hurt anybody. The government makes hella money on taxes, and everybody gets to do whatever the hell they want.
Keep it
Like
away
that's
from children, and we're fine.
yeah.
Yep.
I mean, we have alcohol. It's kind of ironic. We have alcohol that's like way more damaging than weed, and that's fucking perfectly fine.
Well, the prohibition experiment failed spectacularly.
Yeah.
So, but instead of accepting it, and which will be the easiest thing in the world, they'd be like, "You want to be gay? Great, go be gay with other gay people. That's fine. Nobody's gonna bother you. Nobody's gonna hurt you." But instead, like when I lived in West Virginia, there was a small town, Weston, and you go 12 miles, and there's a bigger town, and in between those two towns, there was a rest area on the road where you could stop. You know what a rest area is, right?
Yeah.
Stuff, bathrooms and stuff. And that became the place where all the homosexuals met, and they had I forget what they call those things, glory holes and all that shit, and everybody fucking knew, dude. And you just didn't go there if you weren't gay. And instead of normalizing and saying, you know what, let's stop demonizing these people, they spent $1 million fucking of tax money ripping that fucking place down and bulldozing it and taking out the road so you couldn't go there. Like somehow that's going to stop what's going on.
And I guarantee you, some of the people that voted to tear that shit down used it at some point or another. They were there.
They went to the gay men and they were like, listen, if we tear this down, where are we going to put it next?
Yeah, and I mean, it it
The
just comes down
facade of
to,
morality. That's all it is. The facade of morality.
yeah, exactly. Just they want to look the part,
Hmm.
because that's what um, like that's what their like constituents, I guess, stand for. But I mean, even them are, like you said, looking the part too. So
Yeah.
it's very weird. It's like this. just like fake image of what they think they should be instead of just being like who you who you are like naturally.
That has
I
to be
mostly blame religion for that.
terrible. It has to be terrible in your mind to be that way, to be going to church and sitting next to your wife and sitting next to your children and listening to the homosexuality is wrong. You are a closeted homosexual. Then it comes along, it's like, hey, we're tearing down the rest stop. And you have to say, good, because that's a place of sin. And in the back of your mind, you're like, now where in the fuck am I going to get the relief that I need for, for my true self? Now what?
You
So
know what the craziest thing? Sorry, the craziest thing is
no,
like that's probably where they felt most like themselves. You know,
yeah,
because that's who they are, and it's not
happy
a bad thing. Yeah.
because
Uh,
you're miserable in fucking church if you don't believe that way. And I went and sat in church for a lot of years and disagreed with what was going on, but it was my family life and my culture and what I was doing, and leaving the church and going and drinking and doing drugs and doing the things that I was doing. It was just a guilt trip to sit there, and then you feel like a fucking hypocrite because you are, because you're not happy in church, you're happy doing living your life. So then you have to leave, and there's a massive amount of guilt there that you have to overcome. Church is evil, man. Religion is
yeah.
evil. It really is.
Don't have to tell me twice.
We still haven't done that show.
And I think for me, I think one of the like the worst parts or like the saddest parts is that a lot of people that live that way, they kind of come to like a realization of like I should have lived my life, but by the time that happens,
Yeah.
um, it's usually like too late. You know, like they're old or like they get sick or something, and it's just like I mean, it's sad. People like you get this one life and you kind of spend it in hiding and
Yeah.
portraying somebody you're not.
And it takes me right back to what I said at the beginning of the podcast. In the back of my mind, all I have heard since I've been a child is that fucking clock ticking. And you have to hear it, man. And that's where I don't really like what's her name? Caitlyn Jenner. I don't really like her. She's a fucking douchebag. And it doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with her sexuality, but that's where Bruce really was an inspiration for some people. He lived his whole fucking life like that, and he finally stepped out in courage, even when his life was near. He's old now, but he did
Yeah,
it anyway, and that's inspiring. That is, so that tells me at any time if you're unhappy, and it's not necessarily homosexuality or trans or any of that shit. If at any time you're like, you want to stand up in church and say, excuse me, this is fucking bullshit, I'm going to go live my life, and you're an old man, fucking do it, guys. Take the courage and live your own fucking life. If you're tired of living the life that's a fucking lie, man, take that. It's courageous to stand up and say, well, I'm done. Thanks.
yeah, and like you
Thanks.
said, it's not just uh, like people that are part of the LGBTQ community. It's
Right.
like it could apply to a lot of things. How many probably there's probably millions of kids that get dragged to church every weekend by their parents, and they
Yeah.
fucking hate it.
Yep.
There they go, like in their Bible club and all this shit because their parents are making them, and it's like, I mean,
Yeah.
at some point, like hopefully, they get to an age where they could like make their own decisions, and then if they don't like it, then um, they should be able to decide what to do. And as a parent, I feel like it's very important that you support your child in whatever they want to do,
Yeah, I do
especially when
too.
it doesn't really affect you. Like your kid not going to church isn't gonna hurt you. So
You know what, dude? It's everything, and like, it's not even those huge things that like sexuality and religion and change of philosophies. It's not even that. It's like I know people who, because I do a lot of things. I paint and I write and I play guitar and I write music and I do all kinds of things. And people say to me, I always wanted to do that. It's like, well, fucking do it. It's like, it's, you know who Stephen King is.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of his favorite things to say is what he said, because being a prolific writer that he is, I'm sure that everybody who talks to him is like, man, I would really like to write a book. And he just looks at him. He says, I just deadpan look at him and say, well, fucking write a book. If that's what you want. If you want to
Yeah.
paint, go paint. If you want to fucking pick up a guitar, don't be afraid to sound terribly bad. Don't be afraid to paint a shitty painting, because you will get better at it. That's the thing. Make yourself fucking happy. And if you got if you got nothing else, I would like to say something before we go. I Tomorrow or today or whenever you listen to this, do something nice for somebody, and seriously do something nice for somebody and make them aware that you're doing it. Like, hold the door for someone, or when you're walking across the parking lot, take their shopping cart, say, I'll get that for you. But tell them, say, now it's your turn. Go do something nice for somebody. Because that's what I did yesterday. And everybody looked at me and smiled, dude. And everybody was like relieved, because there was it wasn't, the pressure was off of the stranger and what does he think. That shit doesn't matter. I took the card and I told some woman at Trader Joe's, I said, now it's your turn, ma'am. Go do something nice for somebody. She looked at me and smiled really big, and she's like, you know what? I will. So that's the change I want to make. My wife is talking about, from yesterday, my wife's talking about a club in her school, a kindness club. So maybe we could change the culture just a little bit around ourselves, and it might grow. What do you think?
Yeah. And that's a pretty good idea.
Okay.
And just the last thing, what you said like right before this about, like if you ever feel like just doing something, just do it. Like go ahead. Like don't worry about like what people are gonna think, or, if you think you suck or whatever.
Hmm.
I think that's very important, because I think it kind of piggybacks on that what we were talking earlier about like self-worth,
Yeah.
and I think doing those things and doing like things that you like and things that you've always wanted to do kind of give you like that self-worth. So I think that's very important and a very good like idea.
It is. It's a powerful message that we don't do things because we're afraid of what other people think of us. We're afraid that we'll be judged. I picked up the guitar a year ago and to seriously do it. And Friday was the first time I ever played with another guitar player, and we recorded it, and I was overwhelmed with how far I've come. So there you go. Just do something, no matter what it is. If you do it badly, fucking enjoy doing it badly, right?
As long
All
as
right, man. As long as you have what?
I said, as long as you're having fun.
Right on. Right on. And it's not hurting somebody else. Don't forget
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So if you're a serial killer, don't take our advice. Okay.
Go like burn some ants or something with the magnifying.
No, man, I'm a vegan. Don't hurt anything. Go just go to therapy, you stupid fucker. All right, man. Well, have a good day, dude. Have a good day, football and girlfriend and whatever you're gonna do.
All right, man. Thank you. You too.
And don't forget, go do something fucking nice for somebody. All right.
I will.
All right, man. Well, this has been.
I'll hold the door open for somebody when they're like barely turning the hallway, so now they have to rush to get to the doorway. Or else they
No,
feel
that's when you tell them, don't hurry. Don't hurry. Just
I always
fucking
like
take
doing
your
that
time.
at work, like that back door. You know how there's like that long hallway.
Yeah.
It's almost like barely turning the corner, and I'm just like opening the door.
Well, now you're being
And
a
I'm
dickhead.
just like opening the door and just like looking at my watch.
I'm being nice, motherfucker. Don't take advantage of me. All right, man. Have a great day, brother.
You too, man.
This has been Bob.
And Lalo.
And this has been the Thoroughly Wrong Project. And like always, we may have been wrong about some things, but we're right about some things too. So go be kind to someone today. And make sure you know. Make sure you tell them. Pass it on, man. I'll see you next week, brother.
Later, man.
Later. You have now experienced the Thoroughly Wrong Project with your podcast hosts, Lalo and Bob. We can now be found on Pandora Radio, Apple Podcasts, Podium Podcast, or by searching The Thoroughly Wrong Project to locate our YouTube channel. You can contact us directly by email at thoroughly-wrong@gmail.com or just leave a comment on any of our platforms. Until next time, thanks for spending your valuable time with us, and remember, always speak up and never be afraid to be thoroughly wrong.